It is so heartbreaking. Because if that's the kind of bullshit that you're hearing, because that's exactly what I was hearing my first couple years sober, like, it's not right. It's not cool. And how do you go to your sponsor with this stuff if your sponsor's saying stuff like this? The sexual predation inside AA is so common that it's called the 13th step. There's a goddamn fucking name for it. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, that they have named it. Welcome to the Sobriety Bestie podcast. This is Kirsten. I am your host and your friend here as we talk all of the deprogramming things here in this deprogramming AA series. Today, we are going to be talking about the craziest thing my sponsor ever said. This is going to be about the 13th step, so just want to leave that right there, that this is very disturbing. So I just want to let you know, if you're in a place to hear this, this is about the 13th step. I do think we need to talk about this. It's not talked about enough, I think, especially inside the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that just helps it stay in place. So this subject, it's very hard to talk about. I'm finding myself getting really choked up right now and really bumbled with words. So the craziest thing that my sponsor ever said, it was about this one man inside Alcoholics Anonymous in the fellowship that I was in the first couple years of my sobriety, because I moved overseas at like 4.5 years sober. And so this guy we all kind of knew it, we all kind of saw it, and we all knew somebody who had experienced it, but he was basically a sexual predator inside Alcoholics Anonymous. He had double-digit sobriety, so over 10 years sober. I don't remember how long he had been sober or whatever. I just remember I was brand new, and I could kind of tell. I kind of had a bit of a radar against this guy, and I never felt he was never preying upon me. That wasn't my circumstance in there with this particular individual. But I remember complaining to my sponsor about him, particularly after he did something that he could have gone to jail for if it was brought to court with somebody that I know and care about. And God, this is just so emotional. So bear with me here on this one. And what my sponsor said to me, and as hard as this is to talk about, and as hard as this is to hear, it needs to be talked about. Otherwise, it's gonna keep happening, right? We have to talk about the harm that's being caused in hopes that it helps us have an awakening to stop the harm from being caused, to help people be more safe in the rooms, to help people, like harm reduction for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not in AA. I was 10 years sober in AA. I left AA 5 years ago. I'm 15 years into my sobriety, or 15 and a half years. I'm not like anti-AA. I would never go back. You couldn't pay me to go back. But I do feel like for the people who are there, maybe it could be less harmful. Because there's a lot of harms in Alcoholics Anonymous that people are just not talking about, that people are letting continue to happen because of the anonymity, because of the principles that are spiritually gaslit within the program, just letting things happen and only looking at your side of the street instead of helping protect other people. So what she said to me when I said there's this predator, I'm really concerned about him. He's on my inventory. I wrote up a thing about him because I was really angry. I was very angry with, I don't even want to say specifically what he did, because it's just gonna, I want to try to say this without getting into the intensity of it. It's so even hard for me to say. If you've been around my world for a while, you know that I care about this topic deeply. I did a whole TED talk called The Secret That Almost Killed Me, which was connecting the dots between the childhood sexual abuse that I experienced when I was younger, with declining mental health, like for me, anxiety disorders, and with alcohol addiction, and connecting all the dots on those pieces. The TED talk is called The Secret That Almost Killed Me. I will link it below if you want to give that a go, but I care very deeply about talking about sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual predation. I mean, I don't actually like to talk about it. That's why I'm fumbling over my words here. But I think it needs to be talked about enough so that people can be safe, people can get out of harm's way, and we can do what we can to prevent it or to help people who have experienced it to heal from it, right? And so the awareness and the awakening of it is super important. So when I told my sponsor that I was very angry about this guy who was being a predator in the rooms that I was in and at almost all the meetings I went to. And he would always go up to the newcomer women, usually with less than like 90 days sober, definitely less than 1 year sober. So definitely a 13th step. And if you don't know, the 13th step in AA, there's 12 steps. The sexual predation inside AA is so common that it's called the 13th step. There's a goddamn fucking name for it. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, that they have named it, they have given their loaded language to this thing to normalize it in a way, that does normalize it to, instead of send the predators to jail, you call them 13th step. And so, and a lot of us will warn a lot of us women, especially in early sobriety, will warn the other women about the people to stay away from. But that doesn't mean that we always are able to stay away from them, right? Especially when you're really vulnerable, you could be susceptible to being prey by the predators. It's kind of how it works. So anyways, I tell my sponsor, I'm really worried about this guy. It's disgusting. He even came to me and he told me what he did, and I was so livid. And she said, you know, Kirsten, we never know how God is getting anybody sober and keeping them sober. God might be using this man. She literally said, and I'm just going to say that what she actually said. What she actually said was, God might be using his dick to get and keep people sober. That was literally, it is so disturbing to even say that out loud. I'm not sure if I want to scream or if I want to cry, and I'm sorry that is probably very upsetting to hear. She's telling me that his sexual predation inside Alcoholics Anonymous among vulnerable women might actually be what gets these vulnerable women sober. The ends justify the means. This is some bullshit cult tactic to make her feel better, maybe, and to try to make me feel better. I didn't feel better because my friend was in that harm's, literally, my friend was harmed by this guy. And I know we all have stories like this. We all have stories, especially the women, about the 13th step inside Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, of course, there's rumors that Bill Wilson himself, the founder of AA, was notorious for this, and that they actually named the 13th step after him because he was preying on the sober women and sexually assaulting them or sexually pursuing them. And so it became a thing. Like, if you have more than a year sober, you should not pursue somebody sexually who has less than a year sober. Definitely, that is a good policy. Unfortunately, there is nobody reinforcing it. People can't stop themselves, apparently, and people just don't give a fuck, and it still happens. So I don't know what the solution is, but not talking about it is not a solution, and saying it's God's will is not a solution. That is crazy. But it's really weird when you're in a high control group and you love your sponsor, you feel like your sponsor is saving your life and helping you so much that it makes it hard to even have a voice when you're in those circumstances and you hear that stuff that's goes against like your entire spirit and your soul. And so I guess the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I know that some of the people who are listening to these episodes, watching these videos, are people who might still be inside AA and might be navigating this or dealing with this or are wondering if they want to go to AA in the first place. And I think, we have to trust our guts. If someone doesn't feel safe, that's enough to keep yourself away from them. If somebody's coming after you and you don't feel comfortable, find somebody who can hear you. And if your sponsor says that's God's will, it should be against the law. It's disgusting. So, not everything, first of all, not everybody believes in God. Second of all, is everything God's will? Is rape God's will? Like, that's literally what my sponsor told me. I'm sure that maybe the reason why I'm feeling to bring this topic to you, which is very intense, is because maybe that's something like that happened to you. Maybe you know somebody that happened to. Maybe you've been keeping secrets in your own closet about the things that you've seen, heard, or experienced within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous that would come under this 13th step category. And so I don't know what the answer is, but silence never solved anything. Literally, the name of my TED Talk is The Secret That Almost Killed Me. And the entire point of that talk was to break your silence. that the healing starts when we break our silence. So I know that I don't need to talk about this today in this video with you. I'm just trying to have a coffee over here. It's Sunday morning, actually, in my world, and I'm having a coffee making this video for you. And I actually feel inspired to make this. So to me, my spiritual beliefs is that when I feel inspired to talk about something, that it is because it's what somebody needs to hear. That's kind of how I interpret that. Like, my inspiration isn't about me. It's for who I'm serving, who I'm giving this to, who I'm creating this for. I definitely don't ever want to talk about this stuff. But I know for me in my own healing journey, not talking about the sexual stuff, the sexual abuse, really kept it locked in place and prevented my healing and my growth and my evolution. So the way that I got free, there was a lot of things that I did. I'm not giving you like a bullet point path to like healing that trauma right now. Although if you do watch my TED Talk, The Secret That Almost Killed Me, I'll put the link below. But if you watch that, I do share how I personally got free, because there's not one path to healing anything. But I know for me, the core of my healing from the sexual trauma was what I call like radical self-love, which was allowing my feelings to be as they are, to not suppress my feelings anymore, to not mask them, to not use an addiction to cover them, but to allow my feelings to emerge, the anger, the guilt, the shame, the rage, all of it, to express myself, to express my feelings, and to allow my broken heart, because there's a lot of grief when you go through some serious stuff, to allow my heart to heal, to cry, to grieve. And I wrote a whole book on that process too, called The Heartgasm Revolution, which is all about emotional sobriety and self-love. And it's all these little practices in there. So The Heartgasm Revolution, the subtitle is A Mind-Blowing Guide to Self-Love. And that's a path out. That was my path out to the healing. Please share below in the comments what your path to the healing was, or what helped you, or anything that you want to recommend, or any TED Talks, or anything that helped you. Because I feel inspired to talk about this today, I feel like it's more of a conversation starter, like a way to acknowledge maybe one of the things that's been going on in your life. Hopefully not you specifically, but somebody else who's watching this. It can be hard when we experience trauma within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous to heal. Because if you have a sponsor like I did, that's basically telling you that God's will includes the rape that happens in Alcoholics Anonymous, that you're just supposed to spiritually bypass that and to get into God's will, which is this is normal, and God is using this predator's penis basically to get people sober. If that's, God, it's so hard to even say that. It is so heartbreaking. Because if that's the kind of bullshit that you're hearing, because that's exactly what I was hearing in 2009, 2010, 2011, my first couple years sober. Like, it's not right. It's not cool. And how do you go to your sponsor with this stuff if your sponsor is saying stuff like this? It's ridiculous. So I don't know if that means go to therapy. I don't know if it means journaling. I don't know exactly what the answers are. But I'm here to say that it's not right. And it's okay to know that it's not right, and maybe find somebody to talk to about who also agrees that it's not freaking right. I don't know what the answer is about how to do harm reduction inside Alcoholics Anonymous. I have no interest, as we are aware, of going back into the rooms of AA. But maybe, just maybe, if you are currently in the rooms of AA and listening or watching this, maybe there's something that you can do to make it safer. I mean, think about it. There's literally people court-ordered to AA. Predators are ordered to Alcoholics Anonymous. Look around. Not all the meetings are safe. Trust yourself. If your intuition says you don't feel safe in or outside the rooms, you might not be. There's also a movie called The 13th Step that Monica Richardson, who left AA over a decade ago, made after she left AA about this very topic. So I'll link that in the show notes as well below. It's free. It's on YouTube. It is The 13th Step. And yeah, so I think that this should be talked about more, as uncomfortable as it is to talk about, and as uncomfortable as it probably is to hear. That this is something that we can't shove into the closet because people are suffering. It's creating more trauma, more distress. It's making the rooms less safe. There are a lot of problems inside Alcoholics Anonymous, and ignoring them doesn't make them go away. So what will you do? What could you do? How could you make sobriety safer? How could you make it safer for yourself? For me, the answer always comes down to trusting yourself. Like, that was something that I really worked on in early sobriety. I had a therapist who said, trust your gut no matter what. That's where God lives. She put it in the context of like higher power in AA, right? But I've never regretted trusting my gut. I've only regretted not trusting my gut. So if something doesn't feel right, it's not right, period. And the way that I took that to mean when I was trying to discern in the beginning between what's my intuition and what's fear, what's anxiety, I had so much anxiety, so much fear. And so when I was trying to figure out what's my intuition, how do I know what my intuition is? Because I got all these feelings inside, I'm super dysregulated. Yeah, it was just if it feels wrong, it is wrong. And that's it, period. I don't have to look for proof. I don't have to make a case out of it. I don't have to have anybody agree with me or believe me. I don't have to say it out loud. Just if it feels wrong to me, it is wrong to me. If I feel physically uncomfortable by the person sitting next to me anywhere, including inside Alcoholics Anonymous, I can get up and move, even if the speaker's talking, even if you're not supposed to move. I have full control of making sure that I feel safe in my body and that I feel safe with the people around me. That's what I took it to mean. That was a part of my healing, because a lot of us who go through this kind of trauma don't feel safe in our bodies. And so the healing journey is about trusting ourselves and becoming and feeling more safe in our bodies. Whew. That reminds me, I actually have a course called Liberated in Sober Skin. It is all about feeling more comfortable in your skin. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'll actually link it below. I have a lot of free resources and courses. I will link everything below if you want to go further on any of this. I also just want to say that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Healing is possible. There is so much freedom available for you. I don't know how free you're going to get, but there is a crap load more freedom available for you. I'm going to take some deep breaths. I invite you to as well. And I'll see you in the next episode.